Well, we made it. It is game day, Packers Rams. It felt like forever, but we are finally here. Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can always follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Of course, going to be going over my three keys to today's game as I do every single game day, and this will be no different. I'll be giving my prediction at the end as well. Before I get to that, just a couple pieces of news and notes that kind of happened throughout the league and with the Packers, so I'll go through that first. First of all, as it relates to Nathaniel Hackett in some degree, Arthur Smith was named the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, Arthur Smith was the tight ends coach, while Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. Arthur Smith took over for that offensive coordinator position when LaFleur left for Green Bay, did a tremendous job there, certainly kind of helped remake Ryan Tannehill. He now takes over the Atlanta Falcons. Really like that hire for Atlanta. Like the hire for Green Bay because it obviously, at least for now, keeps Nathaniel Hackett in Green Bay. However, of course, disappointed for Nathaniel Hackett. He's done certainly a great job here in Green Bay and certainly deserving of an opportunity to coach a team at one point. But it seems, at least for the time being, that's going to have to wait for another day. We'll see if any other teams get involved with Nathaniel Hackett. The Houston Texans, I don't know that they've announced a ton of the people that they're going to be interviewing yet. And, who knows what other teams could potentially get involved. But as of right now, as of this very moment, it sounds and seems like Nathaniel Hackett will be staying in Green Bay in 2021, which again is a good thing for Green Bay. So that was the first piece of news. The second, of course, Green Bay made their roster moves and promoted two players from the practice squad. The first, Brian Price, has been a player that's been active the last handful of weeks, and that's certainly probably in some part due to Kingsley Keke being out of this game with a concussion. Technically, he is doubtful, but I'm even less than doubtful in my opinion that he is going to play in this game. I can't see any way, shape, or form that he gets activated. And I think had he had a chance to play, I think you probably would have seen an upgrade from doubtful to questionable on Friday. We did not see that. So in my opinion, that is all but sure going to be an out, especially now that they upgraded, Brian Price from the practice squad to the active roster as well. So Brian Price, the first active. And again, as I've mentioned in the past, I thought he's shown a little bit of juice, and I've liked what I've seen out of Brian Price. You don't want him playing more than, 5 to 7 snaps, but if he gets in for 5 to 7 snaps, you like seeing that energy, that juice, that effort. And I think he can at least contribute in some capacity in those handful of snaps if he gets them in this game. The other one, a little bit more interesting, Kavarie Russell activated. He was only activated in one other game this season. That was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think anyone's expecting Kavarie Russell to have a major impact in this game, but it'll be interesting to see if he gets the nod over, say, a Josh Jackson in this game due to special teams prowess. And when he was active in that Jacksonville game, he did play 7 snaps on special teams, but he was a core special teams player in Cincinnati the last couple years prior to this year. So that's definitely something that he has a lot of experience doing. As everyone knows, this becomes a much bigger part of the game in playoff football. You can't just ignore special teams. You have to have guys who are bought in and are specifically playing in those type of roles. I would look for Kavarie Russell to potentially have, to see the field quite often on, in Green Bay special teams. I'm not talking about kick returns, punt returns here. I'm talking about coverage snaps, whether it's a gunner on special teams, probably on kickoffs, those sort of things. But we'll see if he is active, which I'm assuming he will be since he was activated from the practice squad, but we'll see if he gets some of those snaps on special teams that I certainly would expect him to do so. You would think that would be the core reason for them bringing him up for this game in particular. One other move that Green Bay made, Bronson Kaufusi was signed to a futures deal, and the interesting twist here, he's been kind of a defensive lineman his entire career, and was a high draft pick. I think he was taken 70th overall by the Baltimore Ravens. And he is going to be making the transition to tight end for the Packers. So we've seen this before. James Looney had made that transition from defensive lineman to tight end. Didn't work out that great. I don't think he made it to training camp, I don't think he even made it to training camp this year, if I'm remembering correctly. But we'll see if it can go a little bit better for Bronson Kaufusi. He's 6'6", 270, big guy, and certainly is somebody who had a lot of athleticism coming out of college. A connection here, Milt Hendrickson, who is the Packers director of football operations, was in Baltimore when they drafted Kaufusi so high. So definitely have an inside track of kind of what they're getting with him. And now he's going to try to make a position change, probably more of a bigger, physical, athletic tight end. It would be jumping to conclusions to say that maybe he's a potential Mercedes Lewis replacement down the line, but probably that bigger, more physical blocking tight end type. But who knows? We'll see. Probably one of those flyer pickups where, they bring him to mini camps and OTAs, see if he has anything next year. And if not, you cut him loose and, keep one of your undrafted free agents or something. But we'll see what happens with that. And that one minor move today that Green Bay made was picking up him as a future tight end. All right, let's get to the three keys to this game, Packers-Rams. I've discussed a couple of these throughout the course of this week. And number one is simply be yourself. Be the Green Bay Packers. Be the same team that you have been throughout this 2021 season so far. You've done such a phenomenal job of limiting turnovers. You've done such a great job of getting explosive plays, scoring 30 points per game. You've been much better as of late in bending, but not breaking in the red zone and making sure that you're holding teams to field goals instead of touchdowns. All of that has been great. They've been getting off to fast starts throughout the course of the season, getting early leads, making teams play from behind, trying to take the running game away, especially lately in David Montgomery, Derrick Henry. Those type of games have not gone how the other teams have wanted it to. So the Packers have been able to dictate a little bit more. Green Bay doesn't have to have an A+ game, in my opinion, to beat the Rams in this game. They just need to be themselves, play their brand of football, play B+ style football, and they're going to beat the LA Rams if they can do that. But I think you have to be hesitant of trying to get too far outside of your own capabilities or trying to do something to try to beat the number one defense, or just be yourself and go out and play your best football. I've said going into this game, and I think really going into the NFC playoffs, I don't necessarily feel this way about the Super Bowl, but the only team in the NFC to me that can beat Green Bay is Green Bay. If they play their brand of football, and if they are who they are and what we've seen throughout the course of this season, to me, they are the favorites, especially playing at home and especially playing in the cold and everything else. I love this. I think the Packers are hyped up. Of course, you had the Lil Wayne song released. I think they're going to come out hyped in this game. Aaron Rodgers has wanted for so long an NFC Championship game in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. I do not think he is going to, look this opportunity in the eye and miss out on it. I like Green Bay's odds in this game. They just have to be themselves. Number two, make Jared Goff beat you from the pocket. And I know he's not the mobile quarterback of even like a Mitch Trubisky, certainly not a Lamar Jackson, anything like that. But they like to get him on rollouts. They like to move the pocket a bit. They like to get him comfortable. They like to make his life easy as possible. Take the thought process out of his mind. They're going to try to get easy throws for Jared Goff. And I think what you have to do is limit him and make him beat you in the pocket. Get that pressure. Let Kenny Clark cook up the middle. Let Za'Darius and Preston, Rashawn Gary cook off the edges and make sure that he stays in that pocket and that you're forcing him to beat you. Not Cam Akers, not Sean McVay with his mind, right? Make Jared Goff beat you with his arm down the field against Jair Alexander, Kevin King, and Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos, Chandon Sullivan. That's the matchup that I think Green Bay has a huge advantage of in this game is Jared Goff, bum thumb, throbbing thumb in the cold, not playing his best football. Probably would have been benched had Wolford been healthy for this game. They don't have a ton of confidence in him. Don't let this game be simple for Jared Goff, and certainly don't let Cam Akers carve up 150, 160 yards. Make Jared Goff be the one that beats you. And if you put up your normal set of points, you put up 28, 30 points, and Jared Goff goes off for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns, tip your cap and say it wasn't our day. But that's the way that you have to attack this game because Jared Goff doesn't have the ability to play that type of game. And again, I just don't think that the Rams have the opportunity to win if that's the case. And if Jared Goff's the one that has to dig them out of a hole or throw for 300 plus yards and not make any turnovers, he's going to give you some opportunities to pick off passes. I think that even more playing in the cold with the thumb, I think he's going to airmail a couple passes. Look for Amos, Savage, Sullivan, Jair, King, those guys to potentially get a couple opportunities to get their hands on the football. I think they're going to pay those opportunities off, and I think Green Bay's going to take advantage of it. Number 3, and my final key to this game, start unleashing those tendency breakers and some of those unscouted looks. we know that Matt LaFleur hasn't even begun to get through his entire playbook, and that he has more drawn up that he can attack opposing defenses with. And you don't need to go too far back than the divisional game against Seattle last year. You had the play where Devontae Adams, and I think it was Lazard, but I could be wrong on that, looking like they're going to crisscross, and then they, of course, do the flare-outs. Both players end up wide open on the play. Rodgers hits Adams. Adams cuts inside and scores a gorgeous touchdown off of it. The corners are basically colliding. They actually almost played it so poorly that it almost ended up being good, because they almost, on accident, went with the other player and then switched back, and it was a nightmare for them. But you know that Matt LaFleur has a ton of those baked in and some opportunities to take advantage of the Rams. You saw the Rams just last week attack some of those bubble screens that Seattle was running, when it was a 3-on-1 and the corner just aggressively attacked it and picked it off and returned it to the house. You can bet that Matt LaFleur saw that and has some tendency breakers based off of that, because it's a play Green Bay's run all season long. You can bet that they're going to run some of those stack formations. They love running two verticals up and then a slant underneath it. You can bet that slant might turn into a slant and out, or maybe that we've also seen where they're expecting that, and instead of the two verticals, it's the two guys on the outsides that are running a vertical, and the guy inside's running the slant, and the corner's expecting it to be a vertical because of what they've shown on tape. Those sort of things are the tendency breakers that Matt LaFleur can throw at teams. And just when you think you know what's coming against Green Bay, Matt LaFleur just, completely flips it on its head, and you have no idea what's coming next. And that's super frustrating as a defense, and it makes you think, and it makes you process, and it makes you play slow, because you can't play fast and aggressive, because you start not trusting your keys. You start not trusting what you're seeing in front of you. Again, I talked about this the other day, but a great example, and Ben Fennell pointed this one out. There's a play against Chicago where you see motion in the backfield from left to right or right to left, and then you get as the play starts, the tight end goes right to left. And now you have a play action bootleg by Aaron Rodgers. What looks like a play action bootleg by Aaron Rodgers. He hands off the ball to Aaron Jones. The linebacker's seen, guy in motion. Aaron Rodgers booting out. He's playing Aaron Rodgers. He's completely failing to figure out what's going on in the play as Aaron Jones has the ball and is running right past him. I mean, that's the type of stuff that Matt LaFleur can do to you, because he's going to use your keys and your tendencies against you and, again, flip them on its head. Now is the time to use some of those plays. We saw it, again, start to get pulled out against Seattle last year with a great level of success. I would expect that same level, especially coming off a bye again, having some time to think things out, having some time to really look at the Rams and how they want to attack them. Expect Matt LaFleur to have, and Nathaniel Hackett and this entire offense, to have a couple of those special plays dialed up. I know the Rams haven't allowed explosive plays. I would be shocked if Green Bay didn't at least get one on maybe pulling a fast one on the Rams and flipping something on its head that they were expecting and have it be something totally different. So Green Bay's going to have to get some explosive plays in this game. I think Matt LaFleur is going to be up to the task along with Nathaniel Hackett in this one. Overall, final prediction, I like Green Bay by double digits in this one. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I've kind of said this all week, I feel very, very strongly that Green Bay is going to win this game. I don't have a great feel of whether that's by 1 point or 30 points. I don't know. It could be close. And of course, again, the Rams could win. Of course, anytime you take the field, a multitude of different things can happen, right? But I do like Green Bay in this game. I think it can be somewhat comfortable. I'm going to go 27-16 Packers. I think they fall just short of that 30 threshold. I think the Rams don't get to 20. And I think ultimately just the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff and the offenses in this one is really the big difference. And Packers win by double digits. Let's go Pack. Had to wear the keeper moving today, Charlie Barron. So I'm going to end today. Well, before I get to that, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to check out Jason and Mark and Paul on today's audio version of the Pack a Day podcast. But for the playoffs, let's keep her moving. And until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.